Hey internet friends! The word entertainment can be traced back to Old French and Latin, with its roots meaning to hold and to keep someone in a certain frame of mind. And there's no greater annual entertainment event that captivates the masses quite like the big game. Professional football's annual ritual, the Super Bowl, has transformed from a mere championship game to an economic juggernaut and cultural force. Garnering more viewership than any measly presidential debate. Every year, friends and family gather around the television to watch the big game. The most die-hard fans cheering for the team they view as an extension of themselves, and the most lukewarm viewers just watching for the commercials. While this one moment a year serves as the most universal shared cultural experience across the United States, the masses are, by and large, unaware that it's not just a football game being played out on America's greatest stage. That's why today we are going to discuss the dark history of the Super Bowl. The origins of the NFL trace back to 1920 Canton, Ohio, where a group of representatives of professional football teams gathered in the showroom of Ralph E. Hayes Motor Company to discuss the establishment of a league which would have its own lineup of teams, set of standards, and an official schedule. At the age of 33, Olympian pro athlete and coach Jim Thorpe became the head of the American Professional Football Association, and the association adopted the National Football League title 2 years later. Sounds like pretty wholesome beginnings, right? Well, let's take a closer look, shall we? Though the NFL has historically denounced any public affiliation with gambling at the risk of taking the integrity away from the sport itself, the league's very foundation was built off illegal and legal gambling proceeds. Charles Bidwell, well-known racetrack owner and gambler with famous ties to Chicago mobster Al Capone, used his proceeds from horse betting to purchase the Chicago Cardinals, now the Arizona Cardinals. The same tale can be relayed for Art Rooney, who bought the Steelers franchise in 1933. Tim Mara, the founder of the Giants, was a bookie at the time of purchase, and the owner of the Cleveland Browns, Arthur McBride, was the former head of the mob's gambling news service, otherwise known as the Continental Racing Wire. With the exception of the Cleveland Browns, all of the aforementioned franchises are still owned by the same families. Over the decades, the NFL absorbed the teams of rival leagues, establishing itself as a monopoly over the professional football world. Well, until the 1960s, when the American Football League gave the NFL a run for its money. The result? The first Super Bowl. The Super Bowl of 1967 started out as a championship game between the NFL and the AFL, and the term Super Bowl was coined by Lamar Hunt, founder of the AFL, who allegedly got the term from his children, who were playing with a bouncy ball toy called a Super Ball. Again, what a wholesome tale on the surface. Let's dive a little deeper. Lamar Hunt was the son of Haroldson Lafayette Hunt, a gambler who used his poker winnings to buy the East Texas oil fields. His fortune provided him great political influence as he developed what was then considered extreme conservative political views. His wealth financed conservative radio talk shows, the political career of Lyndon B. Johnson, as well as an anti-Fidel Castro group who worked in cahoots with the mafia and CIA to oust Castro. And he even set up a right-wing intelligence network with his sons, including Super Bowl Lamar. To top it all off, Haroldson Hunt was eventually accused of funding President John F. Kennedy's assassination. Anyway, the AFL ended up merging with the NFL after several Super Bowls. This was during a time when it was believed that no sport could compete with baseball in the United States. But the lure of escapism spectatorship for an overworked middle class, as well as sports betting for avid fans, was enough to turn a simple sporting event like the Super Bowl into a cultural phenomenon. But soon to follow were accusations of game fixing. And these rumors were only amplified when the public learned about two of the NFL's top players, who were suspended for the 1963 season on accusations of illegal betting and gambling associations. Though it should be noted that they were both reinstated a year later and went on to have successful careers. How about that? Quarterback Joe Namath's career was cut short when the NFL insisted that Broadway Joe divest himself from a bar he owned in the Upper East Side that was a favorite of bookies and mob families like the Gambinos. Instead of parting ways with his bar, Broadway Joe decided to retire from football altogether. These historical examples of professional football's ties to organized crime are really just a taste of the true reality of this cozy relationship. Spanning the decades, there have been numerous instances of franchise owners, coaches, referees, and players all having ties to illegal gambling and organized crime, fueling suspicions of games being rigged. The NFL is, at its core, a business. They're in the sports entertainment business, and the product they sell is fantasy. Their entertainment consists of gripping tales of the hometown hero, the rise of the underdog, and the team who beat the odds. The NFL is aware that diehard fans view their respective teams as extensions of themselves, investing much of their free time, energy, and passion into their team. So it's a curious thing that although there are laws in place to prevent outside meddling in professional sports, there are currently no laws in existence that prevent a league, whether it be the NFL, NBA, whatever, from fixing its own contests. It's their business, their event. By law, the business can, theoretically, rig their own event. And according to the law, the media can absolutely lie to all of us. How's that for wholesome television programming? The price of a 30-second Super Bowl ad in 1967 was $42,500. Today, the price of a 30-second Super Bowl ad is just north of $5 million. While some of the most memorable Super Bowl ads include Joe Namath's Noxzema ad and Coca-Cola's Have a Coke and Smile commercial, it wasn't until 1984, ironically, that Super Bowl ads became their own genre. That was when Hollywood filmmaker Ridley Scott produced a high-budget television ad to debut Apple's personal computers during the big game. And the outcome was a 60-second cinematic commercial inspired by George Orwell's 1984, in which the rebel heroine, running through a society of conformity, launched a big ol' sledgehammer right at the projection of Big Brother, only to reveal a white light that introduced Macintosh. Apple's 1984 really set the trend for corporations to up their marketing game during the Super Bowl, which resulted in garnering viewership from individuals who didn't give a dang about football. They watched the Super Bowl for the sheer entertainment of being sold a product in a clever, entertaining way. And that's why the power of one's attention cannot be understated. This sporting event, which was once predominantly viewed by men, has in recent years been almost equally viewed by both men and women. And with the change in viewer demographics, there's also been a change in the narrative of the ads themselves. Super Bowl television ads have shifted from funny, lighthearted, or even meaningful mini-stories, albeit with the underlying message of give us your money, to corporations pushing divisive and social political agendas in their short 30-second segments. Not only do these corporations now want spectators to give them their attention and their hard-earned cash, but they want viewers to adopt their paradigm, or, at the very least, trigger indirect political discussion, earning them all the more publicity along the way when viral outrage rips through social media, and Super Bowl viewers debate their coworkers at the office on Monday. It's quite a trick, one that most are not aware of. The corporate marketing techniques that not only prompt subliminal impulses to act on the unconscious, but also prepare and condition individuals to turn against their neighbor on largely manufactured issues. So that which was once united can be divided, redirected, and conquered. Since there is no other regularly scheduled event seen by so many Americans, we can assume that whatever is relayed during the game, whether it be a political statement by a player, a corporate advertisement promoting social change, or a symbolic message portrayed in the background of a halftime show, it's not only important, but absolutely calculated and intentional. Prior to the 1990s, the halftime show consisted of marching bands and pigeons and flag routines, but in 1993, the Super Bowl halftime show was forever changed, when the king of pop, Michael Jackson, took the stage. From then on, stars regarded as demigods exclusively performed at halftime shows, with Katy Perry's performance in 2015 becoming the most watched halftime show at 120 million viewers, rivaled only by Lady Gaga's 117 million in later years. But still, rarely do people remember those halftime shows. But everyone surely remembers Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson's sexually charged wardrobe malfunction. Given that the entire United States got up close and personal with Janet Jackson's boobie and that curious sunshiny nipple cover, Like I said before, the power of one's attention cannot be understated. The entertainment of the halftime show boils down to most of the artists lip-syncing and playing fake instruments, with a plethora of background dancers and an impressive spectacle of shiny illuminated displays popping up. But what is the purpose of the halftime show beyond breaking up the game and entertaining the onlookers? To condition individuals to various agendas like the surveillance state through Lady Gaga's performance, in which twinkling drones formed an American flag in the night sky behind her, to declare whatever occult allegiance through symbolism and provide a peek into an invisible reality, like with Katy Perry's pawns on the Masonic checkerboard, to harvest some sort of energy in the form of shock value and outrage at intentional wardrobe malfunctions? By design, that line of questioning is very much subject to speculation. But what is clear is that halftime shows have become a symbolic link between pop culture and the modern-day equivalents of gladiatorial events. Over the years, very little has changed in the way of professional football's ties to organized crime. The only thing that has changed really is the level of interest the general public has shown in professional sports and its televised product. To make matters worse, all the illegal gambling and sports tourism associated with the Super Bowl creates a surplus of cash flow, making the annual ritual the largest event for human trafficking in the United States. So,